G'day guys, and doing it up. My name is Wildkard. Yes, there's no secret. Everybody knows I love Wales, okay? I love Wales so much that I live in the greatest part of Wales, New South Wales, okay? And of course, okay, don't be surprised, I'm gonna spend the rest of the video talk about Fijian rugby, okay? So obviously, Fiji has some coaching issues. Mick Burns would kind of like push Fijian to more of a traditional northerner style with box kicking, with a bit of a kicking game, with more structured style of rugby. That just hasn't gone so well for the Fijian. I mean, they made massive improvements, right? But not really quite to the satisfaction with the Fijian Rugby Union, at least the leadership at the Fijian Rugby Union. So they told him that this is it. We're gonna seek a new pathway. And the new coach is coming in. The interim coach is a Fijian guy, and he's kind of brought back the Fijian back to more of the 7 style of rugby, which I do agree. I do think that you need to play to your strengths, but I do see a lot of areas that the Fijians can polish out, and that's what I'm going to talk about in terms of their play. And keep in mind, a lot of that structure stuff in terms of like set piece and lineouts, definitely I think that Fijians has to keep improving in those areas, not to just completely throw them away. But I think the main thing is they need to identify their core competitive advantage, which is a 7 style offloading style of rugby. But even at that style of rugby the Fijians play, I do think that there is some polish that needs to go into it. Because if you just go complete 7 style of rugby, you don't have that much space to actually execute the game plan the way that you will be able to at 7s. So you actually need to be a more polished, a little more clinical in some of those ways that you delivered your passes. And we're going to talk about a couple of the examples that I see that a Fijian could improve for the game. Just before we go ahead, I do think that the Fijian Rugby Union leadership is a little bit too tough on the new guy. He's literally given a chance to run the Fijians for the next 3 matches as interim head coach. Sorry, I don't remember his name. But they are expecting him to win 2 out of the 3 matches against Wales, Scotland, and England in an away matches. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I think that's if the Wallabies won 2 out of 3 matches in this sort of lineup, I would be pretty happy. Like I would say that's quite a good result. But for them, that's kind of like the minimum they're looking for. Just really, really high expectations for the Fijian Rugby Union in terms of their coaching stuff and the players. But with that being said, let's look at some of the things I've noticed that the Fijian Rugby just not quite as polished as you would expect from again transitioning if you were to from a 7 style rugby to a 15 style rugby. There's a little things that allow the 15 players, because you have 15 players in the field. There's some little things that teams do to get that bit of an advantage with that extra players, and I just don't think the Fijians. One of the main areas that's very glaringly obvious is when they do the crash ball, right? You set up a pod, 3 forwards or whatnot, and you crash ball, especially when you're close to try line, you crash ball. Let's just watch this a little bit for the Fijians here. So they're pretty close to try line. This crash ball here. One, just take a note. We'll just watch a couple and you'll see what I mean, right? That's a knock on there. But this crash ball here, it's a pretty good example, right? You've got potentially 3 forwards here, right? If you were to watch, especially when you're this close to try line, if you were to watch like the Springboks who does this, or maybe even Ireland who do this really, really well, this second guy here, he's going to latch onto this guy and help him, push him a little bit closer to the try line. And that is something that I did not see. In fact, I don't think I've seen this at all from the Fijian team, especially close to the try line where you needed to just get yourself in that extra couple meters, and that could have been enough to get you through for the try. There was never the setup where 2 players were kind of binding on each other and pushing each other through. Yeah, that is just something that the Fijians are not doing at all, and I think if you pick that up, it's going to give you that little bit of an edge, especially when it comes to this 5 meters out sort of plays, and that's going to help you quite a lot in terms of getting you to that next level. I don't think I've seen that at all for the Fijians. And also, the pods are often set up for the Fijian team. They are just there to clean out or looking for the offload, right? No one is there to try to get your ball carrier forward a little bit more. And that's something I think that Fijians could look into there as well. Again, because you're not playing 7. I mean, in the 7th game, you wouldn't do that because you waste them. You're wasting an extra player and space. But in the 15 game, especially in these tight conditions, tight spaces near the try line. It is something that is really going to give you a bit of advantage, and something that I just did not see at all out of Fijian team. Another thing for the Fijian team is a lot of times to set up a back line, and they have actually a really good, the players are actually in really good positions to they're really good positions to I guess disconnect the defense and try to and try to get be able to get through the defensive line, whether they be going around it or going through the middle. And a lot of times the Fijians, for some reason, are not making those passes to getting the ball out wide, despite they have clearly set it up that they wanted to go wider, and a lot of times they just don't go wide. So if we watch this little play here, and you will see this is probably one of the clearest example, right? Let's go into the 10, and there's plenty of, let's go out a little bit. Now look how many options he's got. This guy, he can go over the top, over these two guys. So this, if he goes to this guy, this guy's got like 1, 2, potentially like 3, and maybe one of the top 4 options. There's so many options here, and there's so few defenders. All he has to do is get the ball away. But they just like it's almost like the people here understood how to set up the play, but the people who are receiving the ball up here aren't seeing it. They are not seeing what's going on, and they did not make the pass. Right, that should have passed it. In fact, if you watch again here, Celeste should have passed it there, right? The setup is still there. There's just numbers, and there's people in depth. Celeste has so many options here. Even just passes the forwards, they could do if usually what you would do in some of the top teams, like let's say Celeste is the playmaker, you pass to this guy, and this guy he'll loop behind the 5, and the 5 will pop the ball back to him, like a backdoor play back to him, and suddenly he's got depth, and he's looking at another fresh line of 3 or 4 players that's wide, and he can pick a bunch of options with one straight sideways to potentially this guy here, right? He's basically going to end up here, and he's got one guy here potentially, or maybe even over the top to him, and then he's got another guy maybe even down here, a couple guys down here that they can throw a deeper passes to, and just to really shuffle up the defense, right? And if you look at the defensive here, right, there's a disconnect here. There's potentially a hole here that he can hit through. There's just so many options because he can. There's a 2-on-1 essentially with the number 8 here, right? If Celeste loops around here, there's 2 guys looking at number 8. He's gonna be going, which one should I tackle? Celeste could pick out one of them, potentially skip both of them and go wide and draws this player in. But there's just so many options here. And again and again and again, frustratingly watching the Fijians, these passes are not actually made, and it is something that I think that the team, I can tell that they've definitely trained and practiced the way how to set up these opportunities, but they didn't quite, the players aren't quite following it through to get the results, especially this one. I mean, that's so many options there that he could have gone for. So that's the 2 biggest areas I think in terms of the attack from Fijians could immediately improve their results a little bit. I do think that the post contact offloads was potentially rushed a little bit more. Sometimes if you watch the Welsh, they're more controlled, and it's one of the terms that they like to use is they call it like work rate off the ball. It's about moving yourself into positions to essentially move yourself into positions where you're not actually getting the ball or being involved with the ball, but still providing value for your team. And it's a lot of that. The post contact offloads, that pop passes. It comes not just comes down to the guy that making the pass, but also comes down to the quality of the players that are following through. Right, everybody's looking at who is going to get the ball, but it's all about, if you see someone else in a better position than you got to find yourself, you got to try to move yourself into another position, right? Instead of just being there and be like, okay, there's 3 of us, pick one, right? Give him the best one, and everybody else, whether get ready to do the clean out or get ready to follow up for something else, right? It is sometimes you just see like everybody's looking for a offload, and then you end up being a bit of a mess, whereas if you look at the Welsh, they're actually more tidier in that front. Obviously, the set piece is a big issue. The Welsh did really well there. Reece Carey was dominating quite a bit from the loose there side, wheeling the scrum there, especially late in the game when the fatigues are kicking in. The maul was also another thing that's going to be difficult. It was difficult to defend for the Fijians. They have modified some of the laws for the maul. You're not allowed to go past the ball anymore as a defender. So the only way to stop the maul is to just hold it still and get the referee to use it. I mean, they've been trying to changing some of these laws to give the attacking team a bit more of an advantage. I don't agree to try to get more points on the board. I don't agree. I don't like seeing basketball scores, but they have been modifying this game. Another thing I think Fijians got penalized a little bit is the breakdown. And the breakdown isn't quite secure at all. And if you watch the Welsh, they pick their breakdowns, right? A lot of the times, literally, they make the tackle and there's no one at the breakdown, right? Because they see you securing it, they just don't commit. And a lot of times, the Fijians gets a little bit tired, especially late in the game. The Welsh are pouncing onto it, 2-3 players, and getting that turnover and getting that penalty. Again, picking those fights, it's really important. And again, it is another part of work, work off the ball, right? Not having the ball, sort of thing. Not really, the idea is that you don't really have the ball, but you're still contributing value to your team, like picking your fights properly, so to speak. But yeah, I think that's it is really tough for Fiji in these games, and it's summer there as well. It's quite hot. But yeah, just it is. I think it's yeah, I think it's the Fijians are making, again, transition to another style of rugby. I guess back to a more Fijian style of rugby, but I think that I just fear that they don't just let go the scrummaging, the set piece that's been building for the last few years or so. For the Welsh, congratulations, 39-24, nice win. I don't know what else to say. Big scrums, go Wales. Anyway, moving on. Match stats of the game. 13 tries to Fiji to the Welsh 9. Actually, just let me quickly take a look to see if I missed anything. Oh yeah, another thing I think the Fiji will do like a lot of wonders with the Fijians is the kick and chase behind. So something that the French team does, and something that is probably the French, more known for the French nowadays, is to get the ball wide and then you chip the ball behind, especially if there's not a fullback, especially if you can draw the fullback to come up with an overlap. You draw him to come up to try to cover that overlap. You chip the ball behind with the speed and the Fijian players have. You can win that foot race, right? And then you can. Another thing that I think that there was a hesitation to do that for the Fijian side. So anyway, with that being said, 3 tries to 6, 691 run minutes to Fijians to 275. Plenty of Fijian rugby being played. 147 carries to 79. 39 defenders beaten, but not able to execute clean some of those areas. Like I said, there was a bit of a mess in those offloads at times, and I think that some players were probably creating more confusion than actually making a clear decision of getting the right options for your teammates. 16 turnovers conceded for Fijian, and then not 15 for the Welsh. 15 kicks in play for Fiji, 22 for Welsh. 100% goal kicking. That's really well done. 3 out of 6. Boy, that is not great. 306 kick minutes from hands, and Wales 659. There was a lot of attempts of the Fijians trying to run out of the 22. Again, just it's not the fact that this was a bad idea. It's the fact that this was this was more often or not than like the only plan that you have. Sometimes it is really important to mix up these things. The most effective attack out of these is when it is unexpected, right? There was one point in the broadcast where the English broadcasters was like, well, I'm looking at the back line. It doesn't not like the Fijians was like, had like a 5 meter scrum or something inside their own half. It's like, it doesn't look like the Fijians are preparing to kick the ball out. It looks like they're going to take a run. So if the commentary can look at your setup and immediately identify that you're not going to take the exit kick, you're going to run, you think the players on the field are not going to know that. And of course, they ran and it got turned over immediately. So, it is about not making it so obvious. It is about, shuffling up the switching up your game plan on the fly, and that makes it more and more unpredictable for the opposition. And that's where you actually make the break, actually make that 50 meter, 70 meter line break that you're looking for. By being unpredictable. I think that's something that's also missing as well for the Fijians. Lineouts 8, one loss for the Fijians, 15, one loss for the Welsh. Scrum, surprisingly, no scrum loss for the Fijians, but the Welsh definitely has some dominance in the second half with Reece Carey on the Lusair side. 13 penalties conceded. Maybe some of these are because of the exhaustion. Some of these are just players. Some of these are technical stuff from like lineout Morse, and the breakdowns. But yeah, still the Fijians was under the pumps quite a bit for the penalties. You want to see that in single digits to ideally. 6 penalties only given out for the Welsh overall. So pretty. I think the Steve Tandy will be pretty happy with that there. Just a quick point summary of the game. So yeah, 2 minutes in, the Fijians scored a try like classic Fijian style. The ball kind of got spread out wide and just some good hands between the players. And then eventually, an inside pass to Soa Kula, the former All Black, I think. Pretty sure it was former All Black. Petergas Soa Kula, right? He runs in, 7 points to 0. 10 minutes in the game, the Wales comes back in their own style of rugby. They went for the line out, they went for the maul. Just Moore's in for the try. 7 points to 5, couldn't get the conversion. 28 minutes, another penalty for Wales to win for another maul, and Jack Morgan gets another more try. 10 points to 7. So the Welsh are actually pretty good with their mauls, even in the Six Nations against fellow Six Nation teams as well. 40 minutes in the game just before halftime, Fijian were building a lot of pressure, couldn't quite get there. They're taking the 3 points to close out the half, 10 points to 10. Second half starts 4 minutes in. The Welsh went wide. Williams almost scored a try, and then there was a lot of pick and go, and Reece Carey bumped himself over the big boy for the try. 10 points to 17. 45 minutes in the game. This was a freebie. This was a little bit disappointing. So Welsh. First of all, Wales had looked like an overlap. There was a really big line set up out wide, and the ball was kicked downfield. And there was a foot race, and then I think it was Raul Talmanda didn't know that Josh Adams was coming up behind him, and just before the ball rolled out, Adams stuck his hand between the legs of Raul Talmanda and grounded the ball for a try. Freebie. 17 points to 22, and 10 points to 22 after this. 49 minutes in the game, the Fijian had a penalty for themselves, so they went for their own maul, and they get their try there, so which is really well done. 17 points to 22. 52 minutes in the game, Wales made the stupid decision of taking a penalty, and I kind of realized this as well. As soon as they kick the penalty, the Fijian gets a kickoff, and being able to do like a kickoff, like basically a attacking kick from the midway point, uncontested, right? Because no one's going to be charging this down, just straight into your 22 where you cannot call a mark. It's actually quite a potent attacking option. Yeah, because if you were to think about the box kicks that the Springboks do, they have to be set up. Players are they're really compressed, and then there's like a pressure to charge the ball down, right? So you're not actually going to get those box kick, and then if you kick it too far, you can get marked. Like goes in 20 to get marked, right? So like a lot of times teams will try to do these box kicks from the 50 into just outside the 22 as like their standard attacking option. If you get during a kickoff, you basically have that same option. You can kick from the 50-meter mark, but they can't call a mark in the 22, and like there's no one there to pressure you from the kick. So like the kickoff is actually a really potent attacking option. So taking the 3 points is the value of the 3 points. It's quite there's a cost to it, which is a very dangerous kicking attacking option from the halfway point, right? You're not just taking the 3 point, you're taking the 3 and you're giving away a 50-meter attacking kick from the opposition. So I think that's another thing to think about when it comes to taking your penalties. So Wales kicked this one, 17 points to 25, and then literally from the kickoff, the Fijians gets gets the ball back, I think from the knock on, and then some good hands. The wing Raul Tamanda literally runs straight through from the overlap, 24 to 25, right? 1 point difference. 66 minutes, Wales gets another penalty. They went for the more, gets a more try, 24 points to 32. 79 minutes, and Wales finally put this one to bed. There was a 5-meter scrum, and then just lots of the ball went out center field. Massive crash ball from Eddie James, who went through the middle of the field and dunked the ball in for the try. 24 points to 39, and they put this to bed with a pretty big finish and denying a bonus one from the Fijians as well. So yeah, really well done, Wales. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next week. Cheers.